It's a matter of choice. I mean, you have to choose, each person, to what extent am I going to be consumed by self-interest? To what extent am I going to care about others? There's nobody can lay down a legislation about that. We can have our own views about the topic, so tell you my view, you can tell me your view. I think people should be concerned with others, not just with their own self-interest. Of course, you can't dismiss your own self-interest. You want to survive, live a decent life, enjoy your grandchildren, and so on and so forth. That's self-interest. But a substantial part of your life should be, I think, concern for others. And in normal human beings, it is. Sympathy is a deep principle. Altruism is a deep principle, not just for other humans. I mean, just take, say, dolphins, who are very remote from us in the evolutionary scale, maybe a billion years or so. But many people, demonstrate great courage to save dolphins who are, swamped on the beach, because we have sympathy.
I think you cannot deny either. I think the tough thing is to acknowledge it. The way we have been sort of programmed so far by the whole knowledge development paradigm is we like to pretend that self-interest is on a back burner, that it's the public interest that drives us. It's the disinterested search after knowledge that drives us. And precisely because of that, I think your generation is going to look at my generation pretty harshly. Because now that you can see that problem, you say, why do you have to pretend that you have no self-interest? Why don't you acknowledge it? Because if you acknowledge it, I place you in a better position and myself in a better position to test whether my self-interest is driving me and whether the outcomes I don't like because they do not achieve my self-interest and therefore prevent me from seeing that while my self-interest may not have been realized, a wider mutual community interest may be realized. So I think we need to acknowledge that it's part of us. Let's not hide it. Put it on the table. Put the community interest on the table. Put the interest of preserving nature in its totality on the table. Then ask ourselves, wait a minute, you want to do A, B, C. Is that going to lead to a destruction of nature or is it an enhancement? Is that going to be building the community or destroying the community? Is that going to be building my humanity or making me inhumane? And I think those are the tests. But we can't reach those tests if we don't say, put the self-interest on the table, put the mutual interest on the table, and put the wider interest of our responsibility to nature. So, I'm not yet at the point where I say that there's a contradiction, but I say acknowledgement is the precondition that we have reached now.
How do you balance between that two? Well, I think in one way, the balancing between self-interest and the global interest has essentially increasingly becoming interweaved in our society. As countries and nations become more interconnected, notions which were once possible about, and more are more aware of one another, notions which were once possible, whether they were war or hostility, actually get reduced. Now, at the same time, obviously, part of the challenges we face around the world are the whole issue of modernity and modernity changing civilizations around the world to at least from some people's perspective, their regret, and thus generating tensions. And I think how we balance that and how we're going to resolve that issue, this is probably one of the greatest questions of our time.